Hello, this is Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation. Before we begin, we are honored and excited to have been named the 2020 Boston Music Awards Podcast of the Year. There were so many deserving shows, and we appreciate all that they do for Boston and the music community. We would like to thank those at the Boston Music Awards, all our amazing guests, and all of those who voted for us. We would like to congratulate all the nominees and winners. Finally, I would like to thank those who have worked so hard with ATB over the years, including my co-host and friend, Mr. Ronnie Hirschberg. Also, our photographers Joe Wallace and Michelle Gendreau, Jonathan Beakley, Ike Walker, Dee Dee Carney, and Natalie Benelli from the Moxie Group, James McDonald, Christina Latino of Cornerscape, Eric Lineback, Vincent LaRusso, and all of those who have listened and supported us. This is a celebration of Boston music, and we are incredibly gratified to be a small part of it. I had a solo conversation with the great New England band Twisted Pine. I sat with fiddle player Kathleen Parks, mandolin player Dan Bui, and bassist Chris Sartori not too long ago. We missed Twisted Pine's newest addition, Anh Phung, who plays flute in the band, but she is safe at home in beautiful Canada. But we did get to talk about her behind her back. All nice things, of course. Twisted Pine is one of the most acclaimed young string bands in the Northeast. These fine musicians bring their love of improvisation, rhythmic playing, and even humor into their music that, while still rooted in bluegrass, bring in notes of pop, funk, and jazz that, in addition to their fantastic harmonies, make them unique. Their most recent album, Right Now, is a must-listen, and although they have had to put off touring due to COVID, they have plenty of material for you to watch on their website at twistedpineband.com, and I highly recommend you do so because their videos are fantastic. Okay, so let's get right into it. Here is my conversation with Kathleen, Dan, and Chris from Twisted Pine, recorded masked at Woods Hill Table in Concord, Massachusetts. You guys are episode 169.
Thanks.
Whoa.
Not bad, eh? 169.
The vibe you're setting.
Save for the podcast.
I was telling Dan I wanted to have you guys on for a while, and I've been talking to Lynn for a few years actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why hasn't it happened?
Because you guys are so famous.
No, we're not.
I can't.
I actually,
get
yeah,
you
I
on.
remember like having so much back and forth where Lynn is like, hey, you guys available for this time? And we're like, oh yeah, let's make that happen.
I think it's because
And
like
then,
we
like,
were like
something
podcast. Why do we do a podcast?
That's
Not
Well,
with
you know, like, well,
losers.
because like we're like playing shows and stuff, but now it's like we can't do anything except like all we
I
do
know,
are
all
like
you can do is podcast.
are like radio interviews, podcast, you know, like that kind of thing.
No, I mean, we always intended to do it. It's just-
Chris went to CCHS, which is where I went to. It's Concord Carlisle High School.
Oh, okay,
We
cool.
both grew up in Concord.
Concord
Aw.
kids.
That's
And it
nice.
seemed Joe and I were trying to figure out how many people we've talked to who are from Concord or live in Concord now, and there's a weird number of people who we've talked to who are here.
Totally.
For whatever reason, I don't know.
A lot of
why.
musicians, a lot of like the music community. A lot of kids come out of the Concord bubble.
Well, we're very talented as Concord.
I guess that's
Yeah.
something. There's something in the water.
It must be.
Concord is for
Something in
the
the Concord
arts.
River. So how you guys doing?
David.
Great, we're doing good.
That sounded very,
I didn't answer.
very positive.
Very, very well.
But you guys, so we mentioned this before, but you guys, you haven't been in the same room, or have you? Have you been in the same room since COVID?
We've played a couple shows. We played like maybe 2 shows, and they were sort of next to each other. One was on Wednesday, and then the other was Saturday. Well, actually, and then there was the drive to the border.
Yeah, and
So
there was
3 times.
Yeah, and the parlor room.
And the parlor room 4
Yeah.
times.
Plus that backyard gig. 5.
5.
So maybe 5
So,
times.
yes, you
5
have seen
times in
each
the
other.
last 6 months, or
That's
or
actually
so.
not bad.
We're averaging once a month.
Yeah.
That's actually not bad. I
Thanks
think
for bringing us together.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, we're missing one person,
Yes.
Yes.
And she's in Toronto.
Yes. So
Big shout
Anne,
out.
who plays flute in the band, she is up in Toronto where she lives and
Yes.
has been up in Toronto since middle of March when
Aye.
she kind of had to fly back there in a hurry to get home.
She should make room for us because I think we all want to move to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
Get those visas ready.
I promise we won't talk about politics. I might be lying, but
Yeah, it's hard not to.
We'll try not to. So you have been gigging a little bit, probably like Zooming kind of thing from the parlor room and stuff.
So we released an album a few months ago.
Yep, I
And
know.
we haven't been able to play any shows in support of it as one would normally do.
Right.
So we've been kind of producing a lot of kind of online content type things.
Right.
And last night actually was a really... Was it last night? A few nights ago. Couple nights ago.
Every day
Thursday night.
melds into
Thursday
another.
night, yeah. So we just had our online album release show, which was this thing that we recorded at the Parlor Room in
Yep.
Northampton, and we had to utilize all kinds of technology to put the thing together because, you know, Anne, our Canadian member, was up in Canada and couldn't come down, so
Yeah.
we had to green screen her in. To
Really?
the thing.
Green screened
yeah,
her in?
Yeah,
I'm
it was
impressed.
a feat of video editing and
Super
coordination, audio, like passing audio back and forth across borders. and it took a long time to put. I mean, it took a few months really. It
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to take that long. But it took a while for us to kind of put the whole thing together, and then we aired it last night,
Oh.
or I'm sorry, Thursday night
Yeah.
live, and it was our album release party, and it was, you know, it's like the only thing that you can do today. you
Of
know?
course.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you had some sort of celebration of the release because some artists came out with an album and just they're like, I'm not even going to tour it, which is terrible. I think it's terrible to have to do that.
Yeah.
But I get it because, you know, maybe by the time, you know, they can go tour again, it'll be a year before they can do that. And then it's like old stuff for them. Or,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like so much work to put a record out and then try to keep it afloat and try to keep people's ears and eyes on it. And especially now because of how much, not that we're going to get into this right now, but political stuff is going on. It's like so awkward to be trying to put all this stuff together and then promote it like with the backdrop of an election and like all this, you know, crazy stuff.
Well, especially right now because the election just happened. But when COVID happened, I think everyone was kind of starting to crave music. And like when we did a together at home sessions, we did these sessions where musicians could play and people could give from Venmo and stuff like that. And I think people started getting burnt out with that a little
Totally.
bit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So they're craving live music. But I am glad you guys are still out there and trying to do the album. I've been listening to the album. It's called Right Now. I want to go over, there's a couple songs I want to talk about, but I want to talk about the origins of it. It was first supposed to be an EP. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we were originally planning to go into the studio to just get maybe like 5 tracks that we had been performing for maybe a couple of years. And we really worked all the kinks out on stage in front of the audience and figured out what they liked and what we liked. And
This is when? Last fall?
Yeah, this was last fall. So we went in, we recorded those tracks, and we were really happy. We were really stoked about it. We were like, yeah, let's just like get it out in January. And then we spoke to our label, who was going to be backing it, and they encouraged us, and we're really happy that
This is
they
Jim Olsen at
did.
Signature Sounds.
Yes. Love Jim. What
Jim's
a
great.
sweet
Shout out to
Jim.
He's a former guest too.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. That whole label has been so supportive of us for so
I've
long.
heard nothing but good things about them.
Yeah, they're like a second home for us. If you want to say like, if home were people, they're home.
There's a
They
song
should
in there
put that on
somewhere.
their sign.
Yeah, that's
So he encouraged. Well, why were you going to come out with an EP to begin with? Why an EP?
Well, the last thing we put out was also an EP, but it was all covers, and we had been playing these songs for a little while, and so we're like, let's just record them, get them out, so that people have fresh music to listen to, and we won't have to wait as long.
Yeah.
But then Jim really encouraged us to think about, adding, I think it was 5 more tracks.
Yeah, something like that.
And so we were nervous because we only had 2 months, really, to get those tracks up to the level that we felt the other tracks, like they were just very prepared and really well done.
Yeah.
And so we were nervous because it was brand new music, and we like to perform all of our music before we record it, just to work it out, like I said, in front of the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we're like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And we had a couple of days in Colorado on our last run where we actually just holed up in an Airbnb and just got the kinks out. Figured out the arrangements and how all the songs were going to go. And we actually didn't have Anne with us during that because she had a whole other thing that was going on. But she just hopped right on board with those songs, and we went into the studio and we just smashed it.
What studio did you do it in? Was it
Dimension Sound
Dimension Sounds.
Studio in Jamaica Plain.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
which is where we did our first record as well.
Right.
With Dan Cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, good. I'm glad you did the LP. And we'll get this out of the way too, because we talk about vinyl all the time. Dan and I were talking about Dan and Joe and I were talking about vinyl before. You don't have any vinyl yet, but is it coming?
Yeah, it's coming. We just got to keep the pressure on. Speaking of signature sounds, it's really hard to like. It's just because we're not touring right now. It's hard to then put in a big vinyl order in, just because it takes a long time and it's expensive.
Right.
A lot of like costs up front. So we'll definitely have it eventually, but we just have to figure out how we can make it happen.
Is there a line? Is there a waiting list to get it done?
I don't know about with the record label, but I think whenever there's
just the guys producing it, who's actually pressing them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think as far as I know, there's only like a small handful of people that actually press vinyl. Yeah,
well, we talked to a guy up in Burlington, Vermont, Burlington Record Plant, who's done a lot of people probably. Mm-hmm. And I remember when we talked to him a few years ago, he had like a 6-month waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Which is great to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
But not great if you want him to get him sooner than later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it is nice that vinyl is something that people want and buy. It's like a cool little thing that's coming back.
Yeah.
I know. We had a good half-hour conversation before you guys got here about vinyl.
Yeah.
And we won't bore these poor people about vinyl now, but I'm a huge vinyl fan. But you guys are, because of everything, I'm just looking at your website, because of everything you've done on your website, I think you are ripe to put out vinyl, because you have all those really cool pictures, a lot of different pictures of you and the Amadeus outfits and like and the pearl and the clam and things like that. But also, you each wrote something about the album, whether it be like Dan, you wrote about all the songs.
Oh yeah, right.
You wrote about how Twisted. No. Was it about the album? Is that what you wrote?
Yeah.
About how the album came together.
Oh, yeah, about how the whole album came together, yes.
And Chris, you wrote about...
so long ago.
I wrote about sort of how we describe our music and
Oh, right.
what category you would put it into.
Yeah. And I think...
wrote about the players.
The players.
The
was
individual
really-
yeah,
players.
Dan wrote
Yeah.
about that.
And then even your manager wrote something about the
Yes.
album.
That's a good idea, actually, to put that on the vinyl.
That could go on the vinyl, exactly. Especially because it's a COVID album. And I don't mean to denigrate the album in that way, but it was about to come out in COVID. There are certain things that happened to it because of COVID.
Yeah. Totally.
It's an artifact of a very crazy time in American history too.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
look at that. See how much pressure I just put on you?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was a perfect question for us.
I think all those things should go on the album. Definitely.
Yeah.
Because not many people get to read about the artist's thoughts on each song and why you wrote it and how you wrote it and all the things you wrote about each song. You don't see it on a CD. No one reads that stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you go to the website. So, but if you have an album,
And the other thing about vinyl is we kind of like, in the making of the album, we always had an idea that we would press the vinyl, like kind of the sequencing and like the way that we kind of laid out the album. We kind of were thinking of a side A, a side B.
You were.
That's kind of how we thought about it.
Mhm.
So, it's definitely something that when it happens, I'm going to be pretty stoked about it.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
really looking forward to that.
and with an EP, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
No.
Probably not. No.
Yeah.
So have you done that yet? Have you figured out side A and B and all that? I guess you must have since the CD.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
was how we planned the track listing, even for the CD. We just planned it for vinyl.
But did you think side A and side B, or did you just think sequence?
Yeah, that was the concept, totally.
We
That was
had
how
side A, side B.
conceptualized it.
Yeah, we were thinking of like, so we would want to start the album this way. What song would we want to end side A with?
Okay.
Halfway through, and then what song would then pick up side B? You
Right.
know, kind of like that kind of thing. Kind of two halves.
Yeah.
of the album. Yeah.
But for years, people would not think that because they think it's just either on CD or
Yeah, and
stream.
for a CD it doesn't matter,
No,
but I
it's
think
all
what
the
it
same
was
size.
was for us it was kind of like it's a cool way to organize the sequence of an album, just to like think that way, because like we were talking about back in the day, that's how all of these great albums were sequenced and how they were laid out. They were organized by sides of 4 or 5 songs or whatever it was. That arc or that shape kind of like works really well. It's like a really cool way to organize an album, and that's just something that we wanted to do with this one.
And not only that, it's all about the single, right? That's what the record companies always say, and that's what it was for many, many years. But with the album, you'd listen to the entire album,
Yeah.
rather than just be able to pick out what song you want. And so now you get to hear the B-sides that you never heard before, songs that just for whatever reason aren't as popular as other songs, but are still fantastic. So they really get to hear all the songs.
Yeah.
They all shine
There's no
through.
question there. But,
Yeah, I think that's sort of our band vibe in general is I don't know. I feel that when I listen to an album like that, everything sort of contributes to the overall sound, and we're so spread out in terms of the types of music that we pull from, that you have Come Along Jody, which is like sort of just a bluegrass rager juxtaposed with Right Now, which is like a Lake Street Dive-ish pop tune. And so hearing all of that is what gives you a sense of what kind of band we are, as opposed to any specific single of ours.
well, let's talk about a couple of those songs. So the first song I actually heard was because I saw the video first, and that was the Amadeus Party.
Yeah.
You guys have fun doing that?
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a blast. We had recorded the song already, and then we had gone to this really epic costume place, and we rented these costumes, and the lady gave us a discount, courtesy of Chris. Really talking her into it. But yeah, we came back, and actually Dan Cardinal and Sean Trishka, who was filming, they knew that we were like going for, I think, the Amadeus
Yes.
vibe, but they didn't know to what extent. So we kind of all just put on these costumes, and they were like, okay, we're ready. And like Sean and Dan are like looking at us in the live room like, what is happening?
Well, it
These people
definitely
are
reminded me of
crazy.
Amadeus. I mean, that's the first thing that came out. But you know what else came to mind was Broken Glass by Eurythmics. You know that video that they did?
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
I don't
I
think
John
think
so.
Malkovich is
so.
in it, and they all dress
Really?
up in those same outfits. It's a fantastic video.
John Malkovich, huh? We should
John
get him
Malkovich
forever.
is in it, and so is Annie Lennox from Eurythmics.
Oh, yeah.
And they sing the song. And
That's
they're-
awesome.
Yeah, that
you should
sounds
check it out.
cool. That
Cool.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Same exact kind of thing, and it's obviously the Amadeus look, but that's if you look at that video, that's what came to mind.
Cool.
You remember know what video I'm talking about, Joe? Yes. It's a cool
That
video.
sounds
It's before your time. Joe and I are very old.
We should
so
go back.
that's-
We should go back though and check it out.
Yeah.
Well, you know they're Eurythmics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Phew.
Yeah.
I don't feel too old, that old then. So there's that one, and then the Don't Come Over Tonight, which you got a little jazz flute in there,
Oh,
which
yeah.
reminded me of Ron Burgundy with the jazz flute.
And gets
It's
Oh my gosh.
it's a great song. I love that song, and that little jazz sequence when she does the solo is great.
Yeah, and she's a jazzer. She's the jazz to my cat.
She's the jazz to your cat. I like that.
Yeah, that was one that we did live. It was just a full live take. The earlier session at Dimension was just straight in the live room, getting the take and using that. And so that was Don't Come Over, Papaya, and
Amadeus.
And Amadeus.
Yeah.
Those three were just straight up live.
Really?
Yeah, because we wanted to film. We wanted videos of those. So we just normally when you're in a studio, you'd be isolated in different
Yeah.
rooms and all this kind of thing. But we told the Dan Cardinal, who was the engineer and producer, that for these we really wanted the video was just as important as getting a recording out. So
Yeah.
as an engineer, it's a little bit of more of a challenge
Sure.
to kind of and as a band too. It's like a different kind of thing if you're going for one live take. But it's just what we wanted to. We're it has to be this, and we're just gonna do it. And the way it turned out is really cool.
Isn't that how they used to do it back in the old days? Just everyone gathering around one big microphone kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
everybody was specifically placed in the room, well, in a very specific way, just because of either the room sound and how it picked up in the mics, like with the few mics that they used. Even though everybody had their own individual mic, we still wanted to kind of get that feel, that very like live feel. And there's a different energy when you play one song top to bottom all together with, well, for instance, like sometimes I will record just fiddle and then later do the vocals. So some of the tracks, especially like the new ones that we had just written, those were all later. The vocals were recorded later. For instance, like Papaya, that whole thing was just fiddle and vocal, and they're two different animals, but it's really fun when the spirit and the body unite.
Are you quoting somebody?
No.
She's quoting herself.
Oh, it's quoting yourself? So when you quote yourself, you speak in an English accent?
Yes.
Yeah, the alter ego comes out.
Yeah.
I like
The big headline statements come out in a different accent.
I like it. That's very good. It kind of separates it, puts it out
Right.
there in a little kind of air bubble, like a
Exactly.
cartoon.
Yeah.
I like it. That's very good. But I agree. I mean, I think that's when you're playing. I mean, I've done a couple albums, and when you're in the room by yourself and everyone's listening to you, just looking at you through the glass, and it's a little awkward, and you don't feel like the rhythm in it. You just, it's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're there in the room and you're just looking at each other, you get that energy is like you can't replace that energy with anything
Yeah.
else.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're wearing like a ridiculous Victorian period costume, even more so, it gets you more into the spirit.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what about this one? I didn't realize was a short one until it ended quickly. Talquinta.
Talkeetna.
Talk about
Oh,
Talquinta.
yeah.
First
Yeah.
of all, what does that mean?
So Talkeetna it's a city in
Talkeetna,
Alaska.
right?
Yeah. It's
Talkeetna?
more of a
like
town.
It's a town. Yeah, it's a town. It's a little village or a town north about
Oh.
what was it, like 2 hours north of Anchorage in
Yeah.
Alaska,
Oh,
which we've been to this town.
oh, really?
Yeah, so
That was
we ended our tour, actually the last tour before COVID hit. It was a crazy tour. We did like the Midwest, and then we flew to Colorado, did a festival and a gig in Boulder, and then we flew from there to Anchorage, Alaska, where we had this Performing Arts Center gig that brought us up there. And this was probably late February. And after the gig, because we were like, we're in Alaska, we have to make the most of this experience.
Yeah.
So post gig, we're like, let's find the Northern Lights. I think people are saying that the Northern Lights are sort of out if you're in the right place or whatever. So we took it upon ourselves to search for that, and it ended up with a drive from Anchorage north, just like on this sort of mountain highway. And so we drove for 2 hours, like from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Oh my god.
And I got a speeding ticket, which was a huge bummer.
Oh, that started the trip off
Oh, man,
on not a
that
He's
very
the
good
only
note.
cop in Alaska, too. That's
Yeah.
the crazy thing about it.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. You're not allowed to. I'm not going to swear right now, so I'll just
You can
continue
swear.
the
That's
story.
what you get.
So anyways, so
Let's just
Talkeetna
say
was...
he didn't show up for that court date.
Yeah, he just wasn't cool. Let's put it that way. He wasn't cool.
Well, you know, you
can come out here and you can contest it if you want. It's like, dude,
Yeah, it
we're
was a
from
bullshit ticket.
Massachusetts. We're not
we eat
coming
cops
back.
like you for breakfast.
I would fly back. If I had the money, I'm spiteful enough to fly back and attend that court date, but I just don't have that kind of money yet, so...
We'll just pay it in pennies if you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you see the Northern Lights?
Anyway, so we ended up... Talkeetna was sort of our end place where we got there, and we got out of the van and looked up at the sky, and we're like, yeah, I can't see anything.
It was just totally cloudy. You couldn't see anything.
Oh, it was
There's
so
nothing.
cloudy. But
So-
that town was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
It
It's one of
was-
those crazy
We
experiences
did see
on the road.
how
You
many
do, you
moose?
do weird stuff. And then on the way back,
Oh
this is
my
after
gosh.
2 a.m., we saw 2 or 3 moose just like crossing the highway.
At least 3,
Yeah.
maybe 4.
Which at that time, they're just these giant
Oh my
lumbering
gosh.
shadows that you know that if you were to collide with it, we would all die.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it was
so
actually
scary.
sort of scary. Yeah, 'cause-
They moved kind of in slow motion.
yeah.
They look like, what are
'Cause-
those things in Empire Strikes Back? Those
Yes.
I was
Totally,
gonna
yeah.
say
totally.
that in Star Wars. Yes.
Genius.
Yeah.
That's the
I don't know
thing.
what
are
those-
those things? The ATST?
The
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
walkers.
The Imperial
Aren't they
Walkers.
called
Yeah, I think
walkers?
that is.
I
There's
think-
like an AT
I think
something.
the ATST is there.
Well,
like,
you know what
yeah.
model number they are? That's impressive.
Yeah. Yes.
just to get to the nitty gritty.
But anyway, but about the song, the thing about the song, you're right. It's a really short little kind of piece, and it was something that we've always wanted to do when we made an album.
Well, it starts off with like, are you going? Is it a reverse thing
Yes.
in the beginning?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Right.
That kind of fades off.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to just kind of be in the studio, start recording, and just kind of like improvise something, just kind of like jam on some idea, and just let something happen organically. Like it's something that we do all the time when we're playing together. It's like a big part of our live shows, but we've never like really done that in the studio. Usually in the past when we've gone in the studio, everything's been like very meticulously prepared and like arranged and demoed and like
Yeah.
and you're just trying to like lay down this like perfect version of a song. But we really wanted to be creative this time and just like kind of let things happen in the studio. And actually we had to, because like Kathleen said, it was like we had to just expand the length of the album, and we just didn't have time to like really have that same like super prepared approach.
Right.
So that song just kind of came out of like a jam that we were doing in the studio. It was just this little piece that we thought was really cool. And actually what you're hearing is it starts off with this, it's like a little clip that's played in reverse.
Right.
And then halfway through the track it flips and then it starts playing in...
Yeah, it flips instrument by instrument.
Yeah. And the instruments flip at different times, which is really
Yeah.
It's
cool.
very, all of a sudden it was like not there.
Yes.
I didn't even notice that it had gone away.
Yes. So it's like a pretty trippy, weird thing. And
That was all Dan Cardinal.
yeah,
that's
that was Dan
Dan
Cardinal's
Cardinal.
doing.
I wish more bands would do that. I did that in my first album that I did. It's called Spokes, and my drummer never wanted to play it because it was just like an improv that we kind of did, and we
Yeah.
kind of added to it. But I love that, you have that all the time when you're just rehearsing, and all of a sudden someone comes up with something, and it's like you can't really throw it into a song, but you jammed on it for like a minute or so, and it just sounds so cool. That
Yeah.
I love that you threw that on there. You
Yeah.
should do more of that.
Well,
Also-
then, and it's also like we were talking about like albums, like kind of in an album, like a little short little thing like that is really cool. It's just
Yeah.
like kind of this little thing. It's not really a song on its own, but it's just like this little thing that transitions from one vibe to another vibe. It kind of really helps make the album more of a cohesive thing. It's just like this little bit of a what is it that Dan calls it? I
Thread?
forget. He has a name for it. Yeah, like
Palette cleanser?
yeah, palate cleanser. Let's call it a palate cleanser.
A palate cleanser,
Yeah.
like the cracker you eat before
Oh,
you have it?
connective tissue. That's what Dan
Connective
calls it.
tissue?
He calls it like a connective tissue little
That's
piece.
a little more disgusting than palate
Yeah.
cleanser.
But
Okay.
it is
But I like it.
connective because it comes from Tomorrow the Sun Will Rise, which is the last track on the album.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it is a bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
connective.
so we took the improv that happened when we were tracking the last track, Tomorrow the Sun Will Rise. That was, I think we had like a number of different takes that were all, we had like 3 or 4 minutes tacked onto the end of just us jamming.
Yeah.
So that was, that little snippet came from that song.
Now, what is Fofo de Chow? What does that mean?
Oh, Fogo de Chao. Well,
Because
What does that
it's
mean?
almost a fully instrumental, except that you guys do a little oohing and ahhing towards the end, right?
Kathleen, why don't you take this one?
that's a tune I wrote at the Riverwalk Cafe in Nashua, New Hampshire. It was a classic Twisted Pine pre-performance warm-up. And I don't know what got me started. Oh, I know what got me started. Chris was playing Pandero because he's an amazing percussionist.
He was playing the what?
The Pandero?
What's a pandero?
The Pandero is, it's basically a Brazilian tambourine.
Okay.
So it looks exactly like a tambourine, and it has a drum head on it and closed jingles, as opposed to a tambourine, which is just open.
Okay.
And not a drum head that you can play. So it kind of functions as more of a full percussion instrument where you have like bass tones and slap tones.
Okay, cool.
It's a wonderful instrument.
All right. Good. I learned something. Good.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So that was the inspiration, well, the initial inspiration. And then, I don't know, one time we were driving in the car and something came up about Brazilian meats.
I love Brazilian meats. What do they call it? A chima, no, what do you call those Brazilian restaurants? Charcuteria.
Yes, that's what it is.
There you go.
There you go. Yep.
Well, Dan was telling
Nice
me
work.
about
Very much.
how we need to experience as a band some Brazilian meats and go to Fogo de Chao. And I was like, Fogo de Chao? And as soon as he said it, I immediately was just like, that's it. That's the name of the tune. That's it. I was just like, and then I started singing. I was just like, Fogo de Chao. Fogo de Chao.
So it's kind of the words don't really necessarily mean anything. It's just,
I mean, no, they might. They probably mean something in
Oh,
Brazilian.
yeah.
We don't know.
We have no idea. We just want to.
Not in the context of our song.
But we're a very hungry band, so I thought it was fitting.
well, Brazilian meats are delicious.
Yeah.
I still have yet to experience them.
I went to Sao Paulo.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, so you had
and
the real thing.
and it was amazing. But everyone in Sao Paulo said that the meat in Argentina is better, Argentinian. But I never got there.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. Now the last question about a song. Can you do it without me? Is that what the song?
Oh yeah, well you can do it
Who
without
does the
me.
whistling on that?
Two people.
That's me and Anne.
That's impressive whistling.
Thanks. Yeah, Anne and I are we're trying to work up some whistle harmonies because we both really enjoy whistling.
Whistling is one of the hardest things for a musician to do, in my opinion. I have a couple whistles, and for whatever reason, especially when I'm doing it live, I tend to, for some reason, I can't whistle.
Yeah.
It just goes away.
Definitely a lot of room for failure
Yeah.
when you're whistling into a mic on a live stage.
But you can really get up there. It's impressive.
Thanks.
Are you a lip whistler, or are you like a
Yeah, I'm a lip whistler.
lip whistler?
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
what
actually
else.
it's really hard to whistle and play the bass at the same time.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's sort of this. It's like trying to, draw with your left and right hand at the same
Like
time.
do
Two
that
different
pat and
shapes.
the
Yeah,
thing and-
something I'm working on.
I also heard that when you whistle, if you're whistling live, you're supposed to whistle sideways against the mic, so that you're not blowing obviously right into the mic. But
Yeah.
that seems to be something that a lot of people do. They just whistle right into the mic, and all you hear is.
Right. I sort of keep a little bit of distance between myself and the mic.
Yeah. Well, it's impressive because it's very clear and it's really high. I can't whistle that high.
Thanks. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
He's a
Get
whistling
the
wizard.
whistle prize. Let's talk about. While she's not here, let's talk about Anne.
Yeah, let's talk about Anne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about her. So having a flautist, it's a flautist, right?
Mm-hmm.
But having a flautist in a band like this is a little unusual. Rather than because Rachel Sumner left, you wanted to bring somebody in. Can you talk about that process? Were you thinking we're going to bring somebody in? Were you thinking we're going to bring us? Are we going to just be a trio? What was the thinking process
totally.
there?
So when Rachel left, I think there was a lot of things were on the table. We weren't sure what we were going to do. So we had some shows that that were already booked that we were going to play, and we did different things depending on the situation. So we did play some shows as a trio. We're like, this is a good opportunity for us to kind of like hone a sound as like a trio and just kind of see what kind of comes out. And we did that, and it was a really good experience to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We also did some shows with various different guitar players. The thing with Anne just kind of happened really organically and really naturally. We never sought out. We never decided that we wanted to get a flute player. The opportunity presented itself. We were at this folk conference called Folk Alliance up in
Yes.
Montreal, and Anne was there, and like we had known her for years and like played with her before, and she was a friend of ours, and we had her sit in with us for a few of our showcases up at Folk Alliance, and it was just kind of immediately she just fit right in. Like her personality as a musician, she just fit right in, and
She's also a singer too, right?
she's also a singer. Yeah, it was just really fun, and like it just immediately clicked. If you look at the instruments, it does maybe not like the most obvious thing, but like when you think about kind of the individuals and like kind of who we are as people and who we are as musicians, it's like the perfect kind of fit. It's just one of those things where you just kind of, until it kind of happens and really clicks, like, you would never guess that that's where we would have gone, but it happened and we're like, this feels good, let's go with it. There's not another instrument that could like do what she does in our band, and I don't think there's even another flute player out there that could do what she does. It's not about the flute or the instrument, it's about her.
Yeah.
You know, and she just fits in so well.
It's great. It was just an interesting detour to what you would normally assume. Oh, well, someone left, or you'd get another guitarist, or you'd get a banjo player or something. You got in, and she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Now, but
brings-
really, tell me what you really think about
And
her.
Phung. Yeah, let's talk trash better now.
Oh my God.
I know a guy at Redline Roots. You guys know Redline Roots,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't know each other very well, but we've been in touch here and there. But he said it's hard to think of a band that has come out of New England recently that has shape-shifted and evolved more than Twisted Pine. How have you guys evolved? That's a deep question.
Mm-hmm.
How have we evolved?
How
Sorry,
have
I
you
couldn't-
evolved from when you began to where you are now? People, they say, oh, you're very you get a pop sensibility, you got the mountain music in there, you got some jazz in there. Is it like just more of an encompassing of different genres?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just music that we're interested in, that we're all each individually interested in, and bringing that kind of sound to the band and saying like, oh, you know what I love about this group or this sound, and as a group trying to hone in to figure out how we with our instruments can create that sound in like an acoustic way. Yeah, I mean all of the styles that we reference are styles that we really love. The like fiddle, like bluegrassy element, there's the jazzy element, their funk element, and then you got some like vintage vocal vibe, and then the songwriting is, I don't know, it's kind of all over the place. It's like whatever, for me it's whatever is influencing me at the time, and whatever melody or feel pops into my head, and then I just bring it to these guys, or they bring their little ditties that we're gonna like turn into a song, and we just kind of work it out, and it's kind of like a melting pot. This is like a really weird comparison, but it kind of makes me think of like immigrants in New York City, just the mixing of like different people and vibes, and like it's a very American thing to keep creating and trying something new, and it's kind of like the way we eat different foods. We, as a band, love Mexican food, and we love Thai food. We love everything. So that's kind of our sound. It's what we love.
That's a great answer. I'm serious. I like that answer.
Yeah.
That was very good.
Good.
Just to like add on to that, it's like we always let things happen very naturally. Like we want to be sure that we're not like kind of forcing something. We don't want to be doing something just to try it. It has to happen like very organically, and so like I think that like a lot of what's happening, and like as we're evolving, it's just kind of letting things evolve naturally and like letting them happen. Like for example, adding Anne, like that wasn't something that had any kind of, there was no plan behind that.
Yeah.
It just happened, you
Yeah.
know, and like I think that's the way that like a lot of our songs, and like our songs that incorporate influences from other things, it's something that just happens, it's not something that we set out to do necessarily. If you're open to letting things just manifest, then it's like the most honest kind of way that you can create things,
I think the most interesting bands, that's what they do. Rather
Yeah.
than trying to fit into whatever people think they are. And, the funny thing is that people get really pissed off when it's like you come out with an album, someone comes out with an album, it's like, this doesn't sound like, this band. What the heck happened? It's like, well, this is what they're artists. They can't just repeat the same things over and over again. If they repeat the same things over and over again, they're going to go away.
Yeah, and that's sort of one of the common, if not the common, like thread or bond that we share is just the idea of not feeling inhibited by that sort of thing and being versatile enough to play whatever it is that comes to mind, whether it's a funky groove or a bluegrass song or whatever it is. We're all open and able to go there.
A lot of people compare you guys to Punch Brothers, and I'm a huge Punch Brother fan.
Ooh,
And
that's cool.
I totally hear that. A lot of it's the rhythm, too. And I want to talk about rhythm for just a second. So when I was talking with the lovely people from Ruby Mac, and this is something that Honeysuckle did when Ben was with them, he'd have that bass drum. And so there was that boom, 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 that one bass. Now you guys have a little bit of percussion in there. You have that. What was the instrument you had?
Yeah, some pandero.
Some pandero,
and then
and
we'll throw in shakers
and
like
stuff.
snaps and random stuff.
But you don't have drums in there.
Correct.
We've thought about it, and we occasionally will play with some really sweet percussionists. Like for our latest live stream, we had Dean Mahoney from the band Upstate. He played cajon on one of the tracks, and that was pretty sweet. But I think something that's special about our sound is, for instance, both Dan and myself, we all take over the chopping.
Yeah.
So when one person is soloing, two of us are chopping, and then, we always hand it off. I don't know, I think that's something that just comes from that Americana style, from like the bluegrass music that we all have studied, and we'll jam whenever we're at a festival or whenever we get together with bluegrass musicians. That's part of that sound, and there aren't drums in that music. So I think that's why it hasn't come to mind, because we're an acoustic band and we have the rhythm.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't miss the drums in there.
We're definitely open to it. I think we like playing with drummers and percussion players. And yeah, like you were saying with Honeysuckle as an example, in Americana music, just in general today, there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening with percussion, like whether it's just a foot pedal or whether it's Dean Mahoney playing a cajon, which is like, you don't see that very often.
Right.
And also Melody Walker of Front Country, she'll sometimes bring out a pandero. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of interesting new stuff happening with percussion in Americana and sort of acoustic bluegrass, whatever you can call that sort of music.
And it's got to be something that really like is continuing to like push us forward, or is like inspiring. It's not just going to be something that we do.
Right.
So who knows what'll happen.
Plus you gotta have room in the tour van.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say. Right now we're rocking a minivan.
Yeah,
I
we
think
rent
we
the
want to
minivan.
keep it that way for
You
a
got
little
that
while longer.
You got that huge guitar over there.
Yeah, man, the oversized guitar
That thing's
takes up a
huge.
lot of space.
Well, I'm no historian, but I would imagine a lot of it has to do with the only instruments that people would have would be stringed instruments, and they'd play spoons, they'd play a box, they'd play something that whatever they could bang on. So it's not like they had a drum set hanging around.
Yeah.
We've even used the cereal box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
Every once in a
Cereal
while.
boxes.
Yeah, Special K.
Special K is pretty good.
It has
Oh
the
my
best
gosh.
tone.
I want some right now. I'm hungry.
It does. What's next for you? Do you have a plan? Do you have something that you want to do next, other than trying to tour on this album?
That's a good question. We're hopeful that we can get back on the road for the summertime. Everyone is planning, or at least hoping for that, and planning as though that might happen. We had a full summer of festivals and stuff on the books. We would have had basically a 2-month run in September, October. So to make up some of those shows and sort of get back on the road and get back in gear is definitely our main priority. Yeah, we have this record, so we're just trying to get it out to new ears, new listeners.
Plus, you just did that Trump song. What was that Trump song that you did?
Oh, the COVID song?
Oh yeah.
The COVID song, Big Fool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big
Big Fool.
That's pretty good. I like
Thanks.
it.
That was
Oh,
our
yeah.
Cardigans
That was good.
parody.
And then you also did the Elton John song.
Yeah.
Oh,
Benny and the
yeah.
Jets. Right. Yeah, that was pretty early on during the quarantine lockdown. Back in the first couple months of that, it was like, well, what are we? Like
seems like it was back
everybody's
in
doing these live
1977.
streams.
So long ago.
Let's put together some stuff like where we can record all from home and like kind of collaborate and like make some new content, and let's just have fun with it.
Yeah, good.
So that's what that was.
Can you guys play us a couple songs?
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
That'd be great.
can.
I really appreciate you guys coming out here. I know it's not easy to kind of get on the road and get out, but I'm sure you're kind of glad to get the hell out of your house.
Yeah,
man.
it's actually
Thanks.
nice.
Yeah, this
Thanks for
is
giving
really
us-
nice and
And you
comfortable.
came back to your hometown.
Exactly.
So there you
It's
go.
nice to come back.
Of course.
Nice to have something to do also. Thanks for the opportunity to feel like we're working.
Let's hear what you got to play.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank
Sweet.
you.
Yeah.
would like to thank Kathleen, Dan, and Chris for their conversation and hope to one day have Anne join us for some jazz flute. We would also like to thank Lynn Bertrand for setting this up. We would love to have Lynn on the show one of these days, so we'll try and get that set up soon. To listen and learn more about Twisted Pine, go to twistedpineband.com. Go to abovethebasement.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. From all of us at Above the Basement, thank you for listening. Tell your friends, wear a mask, and remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique.